Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's lecture. We're going to be talking about library resources and research. And this is part of the video series for library orientation. My name is Keela Via. I'm the campus librarian, and let's go ahead and jump in on our journey together. So when I teach this in person, I tend to start with two different questions. The first is, where do you normally go to look for information and why? And the second is, what kind of challenges do you run into while you look for said information? So I encourage you to pause the video, and if you're in a class, discuss with each other, or if you're by yourself, just reflect. Okay, so here's some of the things that I tend to hear for each response. So the first question, where do you normally go to look for information? And so you'll see some of that here. I tend to hear students say, well, I go to Google, I go to ChatGPT, I ask questions in class to my professors, or I go to the library, I look at books and articles, ebooks, things like that. And so the reasoning is vast. Maybe somebody goes to ChatGPT just because they're looking for something fast and convenient. The same for Google. In class, they might ask the professor a question because the subject's already being talked about and they'd like to know the answer right there from an expert and be able to discuss back and forth with their classmates. Or, for example, for library books and articles, well, because my class assigned it, or maybe because I like to read, or just because I want something that I know has stood the test of time. All kinds of answers that I've heard for this. And then the second question, what kind of challenges do you run into while you look for information? So I've heard a wide variety of responses for this as well. So for example, with Google, one of the things that I used to hear is, I don't know which website to click, for example. There's 10 million results. Now we have a lot of the Google AI that's giving the information before you even have to click on a website. But some of the challenges I hear with that is, how do I know if this information is actually accurate? Same for ChatGPT. Is this real? Is this correct? Sometimes with books, the question might be, how do I know which chapter to go to? Or I don't really understand what I'm reading, or there's just too many books in the library to choose from. How do I know which one? There's always going to be a wide variety of places that you can look for information and some different challenges that come with that. But today's lesson is really going to break down the research process and what we offer to help make that easier for you during your time here at Nelson AIC. So there are two key research traps that I tend to see students fall into. The first one is the one on my left. I did my own research, otherwise known as I watched someone else's TikTok video. Oof, I'm sure we've all done this, whether it be TikTok, whether it be Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is. There's all kinds of videos all the time that are just fighting for our attention. And just because something shows up in your feed doesn't mean that it's worth your attention or that the information that's being shared is accurate. So a lot of times what we see is people who are creating videos, it's their research comes from other TikTok videos or it just comes from conversations that they've had. Often they're not citing the sources where they originally got that information. And then it just builds and builds and builds until it's this snowball of information that's really off the mark. Another research trap is using ChatGPT for citations. Now, ChatGPT sometimes is accurate, but a lot of times when you're asking it to do advanced research, the citations that it creates are not real. I've had a lot of professors come to me and say, hey, my students did a paper and there are citations in there that don't exist. And then the students got those from ChatGPT. So watch out for fake citations. Always verify the citations that you get or that you create. And of course, ask me for help finding real sources. That's part of what we're going to be doing today. So there's two different types of research. And before we get into that, you might relate a little bit to the cat up here panicking, like trying to write your paper at 11:50 p.m. and it's due at 11:59. We've probably all had an experience like that, just a last minute thing. But there are two main types of research. There's basic and there's advanced. Basic research is everyday subjects with a really quick or simple answer. These are best for topics of personal interest outside of school. This is perfect for using Google, ChatGPT, Wikipedia, people with knowledge or experience in that subject. Now, advanced research is probably more of what our kitty here is doing, getting something ready for school. The advanced research is going to be advanced subjects. These are answers that are complicated, they're versatile, they're obscure. Complicated meaning, and versatile meaning there could be more than one answer. There's a lot of different facets to how that answer works. Obscure means that information may not be easily accessible. It might be hidden behind a paywall, for example. Now, this is best for college assignments and when you need to provide your sources. For advanced research, we recommend that you use Google Scholar, library books, peer-reviewed articles, academic databases, and experts in the field, such as your professor. So just a quick note, both basic and advanced research have good qualities. They're both good, but they're best used in certain contexts. So in college, we like you to use advanced research as much as possible. So this lesson will give you an overview of library resources that are ideal for advanced research. Okay. So the first thing that we offer is print books. So that's going to be what's available here on the shelf at the Nelson AIC Library. So I'm going to show some screenshots and then I'll walk through the process on my computer live. So to search for print books, you're going to go to this website up here. This is going to take you to our homepage. And just as a disclaimer, the homepage may look different when you access it compared to when I created this video. But for the most part, things are going to be in somewhat the same place. You're going to use somewhat of the same the same tasks to do this. So you're going to search for your book using different keywords, like maybe psychology or the book's title. So you're going to see this big search box, and you're going to choose the print book tab and then search for that keyword or that title that you're looking for. So whenever you do that, it's going to bring up, kind of like Google, the list of the different results in your search. So you will be able to browse through everything that's offered, and then you'll be able to click on a title to learn more. So you're going to be able to see the location of the book, so which room it's in, which collection, and where it's located on the shelf. You'll be able to see things like who wrote it, the title, when it was written, and then the green number is going to show you how many copies we have available. If it's red, that means somebody is borrowing it at this time, and if it's yellow, that means somebody's in line for it next. So the catalog supplies lots of information about each book. And once you find a book that you like, the library staff can help you find it. So this is some more information. When you click into a book, what you'll see a summary, subjects, you'll see like the chapter titles and things like that. You'll also be able to see books that are similar to that. So if you like this, here's something that you might like as well. Okay, so before we go on to the next thing, let me show you how to do this live. So I'm here at the home page for the library. I'm going to go to the print books tab. So I can choose however I want to search. For now, I'll just do anywhere because it's the first thing that comes up. Let me try a topic that I've recently had some students asking about, which is Christian counseling. So it's going to take you over here to the library where you can see everything. So we have 80 books that mention Christian counseling. So anywhere when it says that, it means that it might be in the title, might be in the subject, chapter titles, the summary, anything like that. So I can take a look at all the different books that come up related to that. Now, if I wanted to be more particular, I could look for things like title or subject. Maybe I need something that's written recent. I could put in a certain date of publication. You can do an advanced search where you look for certain things. So let me take a look at this book. I can see that it's been checked out one time, and I can see more information about the book. The words that you typed in will be highlighted so that you can see, hey, this is where this word shows up to help you really see if this is relevant to what you're looking for. And then if I want to see something that's similar, I can do that over here, and it'll take me to some of the other similar books, and you'll see the one we were just looking at is also here. And so when I feel like I found one that's helpful, I would come to the library and I could ask staff, hey, can you help me find this book? We would locate it for you, or we could show you how to find it yourself. And if you feel really confident, you're more than welcome to browse the stacks and see what you can find for yourself. You're absolutely welcome to do that. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of print books. So as far as our digital resources, the library doesn't have just books on the shelf. We have a very, very extensive digital library as well. So we have ebooks, we have audiobooks, we have videos, we have journal articles, we've got all kinds of things. And so if you're just wanting to start with a basic search in our online library, this is how you're going to do it. So you're going to start at our website again, which I have listed here. Go to the digital resources tab and choose the format. Now, if your professor asked you to look for articles, great, you would click on this. Maybe it's ebooks that you need, journals, videos, whatever it might be. This is where you're going to pick what you're looking for. And then same thing, we're going to put in our search to find what we're looking for. Now, just a note before we look at this, when you are not connected to the AIC Wi-Fi and you try to access the digital library, you'll be prompted to log in with your Nelson credentials or your My Nelson credentials. This is to prove that you're an AIC student, and once you log in, you can access that resource. So don't be put off or scared by that. You'll just see a login screen just to confirm that you're a student, because library materials are covered by your tuition. So we just want to make sure that you are a student. And you won't see that with me because I'm on the school Wi-Fi right now, so we won't see that step. But once you take a look within the catalog, you're going to see same thing like with the print books and like Google, you'll see the search results. So each search result will allow you to conveniently cite, share, or save that item. Now, saved items are only going to be for that current browsing session, so write that down to save that information for next time. And then you'll see a little bit about the book here as well. Now, searching is always easier with fewer search results. We know that when we see that there's 10,000 things to look through, well, nobody has time for that. We want to search smarter, not harder. So searching is always going to be easier when there's fewer things that you have to sift through. So to see fewer results, you're going to go to the left panel here and you're going to limit your search by format, by content, publication year, all kinds of things and more. This makes your research faster and it makes it more effective. So here are some of the best limiters that I suggest. So for example, always, always, always choose full text. That means that you're going to get the full article or the full book, not just a chapter or a brief summary. Recommended, if your professor has asked you for peer-reviewed articles, click that. Peer-reviewed means that an expert wrote it and then another expert checked to make sure it's accurate before it was published. So that means that you won't end up with something that says, oh yeah, the sky is orange 24/7. Nothing like that would ever show up there because another expert would have read that and called it out as false before it got to publication. So another thing I recommend is to filter by or limit by the time that it was published. So a lot of times in your classes, you'll have a professor say, hey, I need you to cite things that were written in the last 10 years, for example, or the last 5 years. You can do that here. Now, let's say that you're in a history class and your professor says, I need you to cite something that was originally written during World War II. Well, you could come down here and you could write the year range. I need something 1939 to 1945. And you could do that. Now, if English is the only language that you speak, I recommend that you choose English. But if you do speak other languages and you would like to read an academic article or book in that language, go for it. You could choose those languages too. This over here is just the type of content. So if you already did that at the beginning of your search, you chose article, ebook, things like that, you won't have to do that here. But if you want to narrow it down further after the fact, that's where you would go. Now, digital items such as ebooks will be directly linked to WorldCat Discovery. And WorldCat Discovery is pretty much just the fancy name for our online library. So what you'll do, like you saw here, is you will click View ebook or View article, whatever's showing up right there. That's what you'll look for. And it's going to take you directly into the online library where that is located. And from there, you'll be able to read it, you'll be able to download it, save, cite, or print the resource. So a lot of times what I recommend is that you get the PDF so that you can download it, you can print it, it's very easy. If you'd rather just get the full text directly within the online library, you can do that. They even have options to listen to it. Sometimes you can pick what accent the person speaks in, which is really random but really cool. Over here, like I mentioned, are some of those extra things that you can do. For example, you can get the citation Most of the time here, we're going to be using MLA, APA, or Turabian. So you would be able to get that citation there. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that process would look like. So we're coming over here to digital resources. So I could choose whatever I want, but for our purpose, I'm going to do everything. And let me just look up Christian counseling again, since that's what we were already looking up. Let's take a look at what I can see. So I have 4,800 results that come up related to Christian counseling. So I can see that this is a print book. This is available at main campus. This is available at main campus. We've got a lot of books that are coming up that are print books before we actually get to our first ebook. And sometimes that'll happen, and we can filter that out here in a moment. There will be different articles and things that you can find too. So let me go ahead and do that. Let me actually look for an ebook. I'm going to filter that. So now I've taken us down significantly. We had like 4,800 results before. Now we have 285 different ebooks that we can look at. This is some of the other filters. So for example, I want full text. Most of the ebooks are already going to be full text because they're a whole book. Let's say I want something that's written in the last 25 years, or even maybe in the last 10 years. I can just continue to bring that down until I'm finding something that's more relevant to my assignment. So let's take a look at this one. I actually have this one available as a print book as well. So if you see this book in this video and you're like, hey, I want it, we have it both ways, print and ebook. So whenever I want to access it, I'm clicking on View ebook. It's going to take me over, like I said, in the digital library where that's located. Now, I do want to point out, it's not always going to look like what you see here. Within our digital library, we have lots of different places that things can be located based on their subject. And so not every single thing is going to look the same like you see here, but most of this is going to have the same types of things that are offered. So for example, I could read the ebook online, I could download sections of it, I could save it, cite it. Let me just show that right here. Like where I'm choosing, maybe I want APA, for example, and I could copy that and it's all done. I could share that, but here's where I can see more information about the book, and I can even see a description. I could download just the parts of the book that I'm looking for. There's all this kind of information here. Maybe we can actually take a look right now of what it would look like when I open up an ebook here. So I'm just going to be able to flip through the content. Maybe I can start here and I can read directly in the text. That's going to be a little bit of what that looks like. Now, for example, let's say that I want to do an article instead. Let me take a look at what that might be like. What does an article look like? We're going to do, for right now, just the first one that comes up. So this is going to take us to another spot of the online library. And this looks similar actually to the picture that's here. So this one is on genetic counseling and how that works in the role of the Christian faith. And so I could read that here if I would like directly within this, where I can look at it as a PDF. I can download it, cite it, print, all of the above. You'll see that I also have suggested resources. So if there's something that looks like it would be what I need, there we go. And then also some of the terms that are helpful. So if one of these subjects is what you're researching, then you can do more research related to that subject. But that's just a brief overview of how you get to this. There will be other lessons or later in this lesson that really teaches you how to do the research itself. Okay, so if we want to do an advanced search, that's going to be with our databases. And so our databases, these are part of our online library as well. This will be ebooks, articles, videos, things of that nature. So we're going to come to this tab again, and we're going to choose databases. We're going to click here on our database A to Z list. Now, if you know the name of the database, if you've done this a lot, like, oh, I use academic one file, or I use Outlook, cool, you can type that in. If not, we can just go straight to this database list. So these databases are pretty much like academic websites, and they cover different topics. Like, for example, we know that WebMD is going to cover a different type of subject than the Internet Movie Database. Like, there's going to be different types of regular websites, generic websites. It's the same with our academic sites or databases. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to filter the databases by the subject that you're searching or researching. Now, if you're not really sure, you're just kind of starting out, or you're not really sure which subject to narrow down to, you can start with Academic One File, which is just a really great database for just general basic searches. Now, before we begin an advanced search, and before I show you this, one key thing to think about when you're researching is that you want to search ideas, not questions. So if you type a question into the online library, you will get really weak results. What you want to do is break your question into keywords and search those terms instead, because good keywords mean good results. So Google and ChatGPT can often interpret a question and give you the answer that you need. What we do in libraries is the librarians read it and we come up with the key topics that are in that ebook or that article. And so we, just like you saw before, that big list of topics, we give it topics. And so then when you look up topics like genetic engineering or whatever it might be, Christian counseling, that article is going to come up. So a bad search in the online library would be something like, what mental conditions fall under abnormal psychology? Or who is Sigmund Freud and what are his theories? Not going to work the best for what we're looking for. So here's how you can improve your search with Boolean operators. So this looks scary, but I promise it's not as bad as it looks. So you're probably familiar with Venn diagrams from whenever you were in school. So Boolean operators are just a fancy way to make your search better. So they're going to pretty much be search terms that help you find what you need, and or and not. So for example, let's say you're doing research about puppies and kittens. So if you want to find things that only discuss puppies and kittens in the article, like they mention both things, then you would search puppy and kitten. And so that ensures that if there's an article that only talks about kittens, it won't show up. If it only talks about puppies, it won't show up. Only things that talk about both puppies and kittens will show up in your results. Now, or means that it's going to be either term. So if it doesn't really matter, puppies or kittens, it doesn't matter, or it could be both that show up in my results. You could say puppy or kitten. And as you'll see here, you'll see things about puppies, kittens, and both. Now, let's say you don't want anything about kittens. Like you know that people write articles about puppies and kittens, and you don't want anything that mentions a kitten at all. You only want things about puppies. Then you could search for puppy, not kitten, and it's going to find just that one topic. Some other ways to improve your search before we jump in for some samples for the advanced research. You can add quotes around your keyword to help you find the exact wording. So this works really well for finding short forms of a word, such as I want to research tech instead of technology. For example, you can use parentheses around similar phrases, which is going to tell the database to search for them together, like cat and kitten with parentheses around it. So it knows that it doesn't really matter if it's a cat or a kitten. I want information just about that species in general. Finally, you can use an asterisk, which is this right here, to search for multiple endings to a word, such as instead of typing the whole psychology word out, I can stop at the G. And so it's going to search for all the words that have different endings after that, like psychology, psychologist, and psychological. And don't be afraid to ask me for help. If you're new to research at the college level, this is probably going to be really scary. Your eyes are probably glazing over right now, so don't panic. This is not something that you need to necessarily do at the beginning level. These are just things that if you're struggling in your research to find different articles and things about the topic that you're researching, these are some ways that you can really refine that to make it easier. So with all that in mind, here are some ways to improve your search. So a good search using those Boolean. So abnormal psychology and diagnoses. I'm looking for different diagnoses related to abnormal psychology, like schizophrenia, for example. Or I want to look up Sigmund Freud and his theories. So what I've done here is I've taken those questions, if I can find them, taken those questions here, and I've just kept the keywords, and that's what I'm searching for instead. Now, the best search, this would be like librarian status or senior year status or master's degree kind of thing. You can start with good searches and then slowly ease your way up to this level. This isn't something that you would be expected to be able to do right away, of course. But you'll see some of those things that I mentioned before. Having words that are similar in parentheses. I'm looking for exactly the term mental disorder, so it's in quotes. And then I have and in between because I'm looking for both sets of these words. Same thing here, I've got Freud, and I want information about either the id, the ego, or the superego. So this might look a little overwhelming. We're going to take a look at what that looks like here in just a moment. So let's go to the library page again. Let's go to databases, my database A to Z list. So to back up, here where I can search for subjects. So you'll see there's a ton of different subjects available. Now, because I'm doing some psychology research, I would probably come up here to behavioral science and community services. However, because most of you watching are probably just going to be doing general research at the time of this video, I'm going to use the general database that I recommend, which is Academic OneFile. So if you're not really sure what to go to, start with Academic OneFile. While that's loading, we have a legend over here with just helpful tips from the librarians about what is available. And you'll see we love Academic OneFile. It's one of our featured databases. Okay, so here in Academic OneFile, this is where I can do my search. So let's go back. Let's try one of my good searches to take a look at that. So you'll see I can put term 1 here. Let me take that away. Woo. And then term 2 here. You'll see in between I can use the and or not. I'm going to do and here. Now, something that you might have seen is as I type in information, you're going to see suggested terms that you can use as well. These are some of the terms that librarians have used in the system. And so if you see one that aligns more with the topic that you're researching, you can choose that, and that's fine. Let's go ahead and search and see what comes up. So I have 196 things that come up with my initial search. Now, what I want to also do is I want to filter or limit. I want things that are just full text, which brought me down to almost half. Maybe I want things that have been written in the past year, which brings me down to 7. So let's take a look at Freud's model of the mind. So Freud is like a really important psychologist for those of you who are interested in psychology. You might know of him. So now we're here and I'm in my article. Same like we were looking at before. It's in our online library. You can do the same things that we mentioned before. You can get the full text directly here. You could download the PDF. You can cite it. You can download it, send, print. Some of these databases are really cool because you can actually highlight or make notes within the article. This is one where you can actually listen to it. You can choose the different accents that you use. We have more articles that are related. So that's just a basic look at what that looks like. Now, if you're going to do really advanced searches, what I recommend is going to, for example, like a behavioral science database. When I click on a subject, I'm going to actually see suggested articles, or sorry, not articles, databases for that. They'll be recommended. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward. So each database will look a little different, as we just saw. You're going to want to also look for a place that you can sign in or make an account. This will help you keep track of articles and complete your search. So that's something that I didn't mention before. In a lot of these, you can create an account. You can sign in with Google, sign in with Microsoft, or make your own account. The ones that sign in with Google, you can actually save the articles to your Google Drive, or with Microsoft, you can save it to your OneDrive. So those are some really cool features so that you don't have to try to keep track of every single article that you found. You can save it and you can go back to it later. So that's a really helpful feature that I recommend, especially if you're someone who's not really organized. Save the citation, send it to yourself, print it, something, write down where you found it so that you can easily find it again. And if you struggle to find something again and you've lost it, come visit us. We're happy to help you locate that item again. And something I haven't said yet, we're happy to help you do some of these online searches as well. If you come to us and you're like, this is my assignment, but I need help picking a research topic. I need help deciding, where do I go to research these things? Which databases do I choose? What kind of ebooks do you recommend? We're really happy to help you with things like that too. We are here to serve you. So don't feel like you have to do it all on your own. Like I mentioned before, if you need to filter your results, you can do that within the database. You can filter by all of those things that we've seen before, or you can change your search results. So right here in the screenshot, this is one of the really advanced research search strings that I had in a previous slide. And so you'll see that I do have some things that showed up here that I was able to look at. Now, let's say nothing came up for that. That's okay. You can totally change your search terms to something that'll be more relevant or easier. And again, we're here to be able to help you with that process. Like we just saw live, click on the item to access it. Read the abstract or the summary to decide if it's relevant, and if not, move on. If it looks good, begin reading. Many databases will let you save the article, write notes, listen, print, all the good stuff. So let me actually show you that again. Something that we haven't looked at live yet is abstracts. Abstracts are very, very important because they are a summary of an article. They're like the equivalent of a summary that's at the back of the book. You wouldn't read the whole book most of the time without knowing what it's about. Maybe you would, but most people wouldn't. So when you're doing your research, when you click on an article, before you jump in and try to read this super long text, look for an abstract, which is the summary again, and see if this has some of those keywords, if it has some of your research topic within. If it doesn't, okay, that's okay. We're making it easy. We're moving on to the next. Maybe I want to look at, ooh, I laughed because I must not weep. Okay, so we're going to look here. I see that it's talking about theories, but I don't actually know if it's going to talk about Freud. So one thing that you can do is you can take your search terms. Let me actually just copy this. And if you click Control F, you can search for the word that you're looking for. And so we'll see here, Freud is in here quite a bit. So that tells me this is probably a really relevant article. And so if the abstract and that keyword search shows me that this looks like something that's relevant to me, okay, go ahead and read it. Take some notes. See if that will work for your research and support your point. Alrighty. So if all of this just seems very, very overwhelming, and especially if you're new to college research, it probably is, and that's okay. But let me show you something that will help make this process easier, will help make it more understandable for you. So we have something called subject and course guides. And so what these do is these provide research help for particular subjects and classes. So there are certain classes where like every single student who goes to the class has the same research paper every single semester. And so what the librarians have done is we have created these guides to help you. Hey, you're working on that technology and another topic paper. Hey, I've already created a list of all the places that you can go to search for that information. Here's all the databases that you can use. Here's a list of some books that can help you. So these are created after seeing different patterns, and these are created for you so that you don't have to feel like a fish out of water. You can feel much more prepared for that research that you're doing. So we have it based on subjects or on classes. So for example, this is what a course guide looks like for authentic Christianity. This is created for our campus. Authentic Christianity is a required class for freshmen on our campus. And so that's just a really helpful tool. Let me just go ahead and show you quickly what that would look like. We'll come over to our subject and course guides. Subject guides, you'll see it's by major or minor. So for example, addictions counseling, Bible and theology, business, kinesiology, we've got all kinds of things. Let me do the Bible and theology because this is one that I send students to a lot. You're going to see the list of the top 2 databases we recommend. This actually right here is an assignment for one of your Bible classes, researches or resources to avoid in a research paper. So I don't remember which class it is off the top of my head, but this is where you find that information for that assignment, hint, hint. Some of the things that you can see here is we'll have different books that are listed that you can go directly to and find that online. We've got different sources. We'll have different things like how to cite for that particular class. There's a lot of helpful information that will be available within this. So that's more for an entire subject or a major. Then we have things like our course guides, like I just showed previously with Authentic Christianity. This is by class. So for example, the Bible study class here at AIC. This is the guide that will help you with the different research projects that you'll be doing in that class, or composition and rhetoric. Let me go to Authentic Christianity because that's one that everybody here will have to take. And so within each guide, you're going to see information for how to research the different resources that we have. Now, this class also has a book report, so I have every single book that's available for our book report. And what it does is it will actually take you over to the library website to see if that book is available and where it's located. So you could do that right there. But these are just a really helpful tool that I encourage everybody to use so that you can research smarter, not harder. Okay, so before we go, a few last things. If you feel stuck on your research project, if you need a refresher in where to go to do your research or how to do that research, we have tutorials that are available here at this link. And again, feel free at any time. Send me an email, come by, ask questions. I'm really happy to help you. Don't feel like you have to do all of this on your own. College is hard. Research is hard. There's a lot of skills that you need to be able to do this effectively. But the goal of the library is to help teach those skills and help you become a better researcher for the rest of your life. Connect with us. So if you're not already following us on Instagram or Facebook, those are our handles. And then I also have a link to our website here as well, whenever you need to access that. And there are tons of other things on our website other than just the search. We've got FAQs, we have archives, we have featured books, we've got our services, library events, all kinds of things that are available other than what you've just seen here. And then to contact me, this is my contact information. Of course, the easiest way to get in touch is just to swing by. My office is here in the library, or you can send me an email. All right, so I know that was a lot of information, but you can do this, right? You've got some of the beginning resources that you need to get started with your research. And you also have staff who are available and ready to help you. So wherever you are in your research process, wherever you are in your college journey, don't be afraid to ask for help. We're here to help you. And I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.